Hi, welcome once again to the Beer Temple. This is episode 78, and we are your hosts, Chris and Margaret Quinn.
Hello, everybody.
Hey. So, as you may know, Margaret is my wife, also known as my worse half.
He meant to say better half.
Better half. So we thought it was appropriate to have you on for this show. To have a pretty special beer here, one that certainly is hard to come by. And if you guys don't already have this beer, it might be pretty hard to get unless you're pretty heavily into trading or know some backwater, hole-in-the-wall beer shop that still is good enough to get this type of beer. Mm-hmm. So this is a special limited release from Founders, one of our favorite breweries out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Really puts together some great stuff. We've had them on in the past. We had the Dirty Bastard, which is a really nice Scotch ale. And we also had the Breakfast Stout, which is a really nice stout brewed with coffee and oats. But today, we're going to be having Curmudgeon's Better Half. This is the latest release in a very special line that Founders does. The most recent one they did before this was the Canadian Breakfast Stout, which is the Breakfast Stout aged in Bourbon Barrels, which were then used for aging maple syrup. So you get this maple syrup bourbon barrel aged, and they took those same barrels and they aged Curmudgeon in it. Curmudgeon's a seasonal offering from Founders, so they're kind of doing this. Who knows if it'll be yearly, if it'll be one-off, if they'll ever do it again, who knows. But yeah, they took Curmudgeon and they aged it in bourbon maple syrup barrels. So pretty exciting, should be pretty good. And just a little bit about Curmudgeon in general.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, so Curmudgeon is Founders Old Ale. Old Ale is a style that really is pretty rare. You don't see it too often. You certainly don't see it brewed with any regularity by craft brewers anymore. And it's an English style, and it's a very close cousin to the barley wine. I mean, sometimes people call their old ales barley wines and vice versa, but it's really very close to the barley wine. So it's an English style, kind of almost a historic style, high alcohol. The difference between an old ale and a barley wine typically is, one, the color. Old ales tend to be darker. You'll remember in our barley wine episode, a lot of them were kind of tawny colored, maybe a little reddish amber.
Yep.
These are going to be darker, and they're also going to be sweeter than a barley wine. Barley wines can actually be deceivingly dry often, where these will have typically and historically some residual sweetness and a lot of fruity flavors as a result of that will kind of come to mind. They're also often oak aged. And the regular Curmudgeon is also oak aged. Now, nowadays, you don't see that as much, but it is kind of cool that they're going back to the roots of the old ale and oak aging even the regular Curmudgeon, let alone, I don't think typically there was bourbon maple syrup aging.
What? Come on, that sounds completely historical.
Yeah, and, this isn't going to work. Or is it? Or is it just going to break this thing?
Now you've done it.
Well, this might be the end of this thing. There we go.
And it's intact.
Okay. So, with the old ales, I was going to say one more thing, but I can't remember. Were you going to say something?
No, I can't.
Okay.
We're talking about bourbon barrels.
Beeble bobble beeble booble? Were we talking about that a little bit?
Maples wobble, but they don't fall down.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
You'll think of it.
Yeah, so quite a little bit darker, still very kind of ruby tawny, very barley wine.
I was going to say, it's very reminiscent of the barley wines that we had a few
nice
shows
kind
ago.
of off-white colored head
like
to it. Nice
kind
kind
of
of soapy, creamy looking head.
Creamy looking head.
Let's see what...
And like with some caramel in it, it seems almost...
Yeah,
like...
and you get in the nose too, you get a lot of oak. Not necessarily that vanilla oak, but a lot of just like wood flavors to it.
and I get like a toffee. I mean, I do get a lot of the sweetness.
Yeah,
I almost get like a very sweet orange too, like a little bit of a citrus hit for me in this. Like
I can see that.
Candied orange type thing.
Like some sort of a candied fruit with oak and You're almost picking up on like the tannins of the oak. You can almost get like an ashy smell to it.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, I'm excited to try this. So
quite a lot going on here.
There is quite a lot going on here. I taste the barrel, and I do taste it. I do get that like that maple syrup.
Absolutely,
yeah,
and the bourbon.
It's definitely present in the beer itself, and the bourbon. Yeah, you're right.
All right, so malt-driven beer, something I didn't mention before. You're not going to get any hops. Certainly the case here. Nice, rich, full mouthfeel, and that's what residual sugars in a beer will lend to it. That will give it that soft, full feel. A lot of times very dry beers will feel very kind of like almost watery, and thick beers that have more sugar in them will be thicker. Toffee and caramel and dried fruits.
Yep.
You're getting the maple, the oak. This beer has a lot of components to it, and
Yeah.
it's always just kind of switching from kind of toffee and fruit to a little bit of that maple syrup, and then that blends in with the oak, and that which reminds you of the maple, and
Right.
really nice. A good amount of bitterness too.
Yeah, there's definitely some bitterness on the back end, but I find this to be a really smooth beer. You know, it's not harsh at all. It's not overly boozy. You know, it's just really nice, a nice sipper.
Yeah, speaking of boozy, this is a 12% alcohol beer.
Yeah.
Very big beer. I mean, this is something you want to sit by with a fireside, similar to a barley wine.
We say that a lot. Sit by the fire.
Almost have like some sort of like caramelized dessert, or like a like a tres leches with like the stuff drizzled over it.
I think that would be great. I think creme brulee would be delicious with this because you're playing with that caramelization on the top. I also think like a bread pudding or something with like one of those bourbon or rum sauces would go really well with this because you're getting that sweetness of the maple along with the booze. And finally, I also think really nice sharp, great cheddar cheese, like a classic English cheddar, would be pretty much perfect with this too.
Yeah, and sometimes you can get cheddars or cheeses that have a little bit of, I don't know, I would like to see almost like an infused cheese or something with cheese as well, just to bring out some of that sweetness here. It's really quite
like with the
quite delicious.
Like how they make like the cheddar with like cranberry in it or something like that.
Something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that could work out really well.
Yeah. So
it's delicious. So what do you think as far as rating? I mean,
I think the booze in this beer really is just also plays so well into it. This is really crafted very well. I've said it before. I often say it about one of my favorite beers in the world, Bourbon County, how there's so many elements going on, and they keep them all in check. They keep them all harmonizing with each other, and that's definitely the case here. So many elements that could potentially outstrip the other, but you're getting everything. You're getting the base beer, you're getting the oak. Wonderful beer. What do I give this? Oh, this is an exceptionally good beer.
Yeah, I think so too.
97. I mean, this is about as good a big, strong beer as I
had
could
the JW
possibly
Lee's
want.
on, a couple episodes ago, and I gave that like a 98. This doesn't hit it for me as much as that JW Lee's, which is just right on. But yeah, this is delicious.
It's a very different beer.
It is a very different beer. I'll go 96 with it.
Yeah. This beer is a pricey beer. I don't know exactly what I paid for it, but it's going to be somewhere in the range of $16, $17. Not sure how it'll age either. I will say right now I have one bottle of this. This is the bottle I have, and when I have it, it's gone. So I don't expect to taste it later on down the road. Maybe I'll be lucky, but if you got this beer, I'd say crack it open now for a special occasion and enjoy it. Really, really well done beer from Founders. I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, me too. I gotta say, this was a pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah.
So the better half won out yet again.
You were going to manage to slip that in there.
I did.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I forgot to do was my little spam of the episode.
Yeah.
But I'll do that next time. There's some really awesome ones.
Yeah, we also got some really good reviews on iTunes recently, so we'll have to give some shout outs next episode.
There you go. Well, thanks, guys. That has been episode 78, unless I switch them up like I sometimes do, in which case it's 79 or 77. Thanks so much. Keep the comments coming. We always love to hear what you guys have to say, and I really like hearing from you guys. You can check us out on Facebook and Twitter, or on YouTube, and all over the interwebs. Probably the best place, though, is our website, craftbeertemple.com. And if you have this beer, hey, what do you think of it? Even if it's great, is it worth $17? Is it worth, having to get on a list to get the beer, or trading something for it? I don't know. Anyway, those are all questions that we can answer while we sip on this lovely, lovely beer.
Yeah.
But until then, until the next episode, we've got some great old ale to drink, and hopefully you do too.